Hi, friends. Interesting to see that coming out of Tampa. And as we're keeping an eye on that storm, even here in the Beehive State, we take a live view of Key West. This has been an interesting shot all day, and we stayed with it tonight. Now, we've got moisture on the camera. We've watched. The camera freezes at times this evening because of that inundation, I'm sure, of moisture and winds. But we've watched how the surf has really come up over onto the pavement. But that's not even the worst area that's expected to be impacted. At this point, Idalia has taken its time to ramp up. It's a hurricane category 2, and as it moves in, I think it's going to stay on the western side of the cone here. So Tampa may not be the hardest hit. Now it looks like Tallahassee, when this hurricane makes landfall, could be in rough waters there. We are expecting Big Bend to see impacts. As the hurricane hits the land, it will weaken, but it will bring impacts to Georgia and the Carolinas as well, making landfall sometime tonight and into tomorrow morning. It's a category 2, so sustained winds between 96 and 110 miles per hour. Could be a category 3. We'll see what happens with the warm waters of the Gulf as it makes landfall again closer to Tallahassee. We look at the last several hours. You can see that storm, that hurricane, with the outer bands impacting Florida, bringing in that wet weather from Key West all the way through Fort Myers into St. Petersburg. And again, it looks like Tallahassee and the Big Bend area could be the hardest hit. Now, closer to home, we're the exact opposite. Dry conditions. As you take a look at the radar, not much going on right now, and that's been the case. We did see gusty winds and record-breaking heat today. Look at Scott Taylor's drone video from Magna, those gusty winds knocking the drone around in the air. Doesn't that tell the story? We did see some strong southwesterly winds. That helps with temperatures. 32-mile-per-hour gust in Salt Lake, West Desert, all the way down to Cedar City, even St. George with a 25-mile-per-hour gust. Very different from what we were seeing in eastern Utah. Wendover hit 100 today. 102 is where they topped out. We hit 100. We see those high 90s along the Wasatch Front. Hot in Cache Valley at 97. 106 in St. George, a degree shy of the record there. So the heat was on. And tomorrow, things are going to change a little bit, even changing tonight with a few storms along the Wasatch Front as that front was moving in. 81 right now with mostly clear conditions. Clear skies for the overnight with mid to upper 60s expected. And then tomorrow morning, we'll get into the upper 60s. Now, notice that I put smoke on there because that is what's going to happen with this front. Futurecast walks us through that cold front coming in, mostly dry. Northwest flow behind it. That's cooler air. So we're going to see temperatures dropping to seasonal norms in the northern half of the state. Still hot down south. But with that northwest flow, we know there are wildfires burning in places like Washington and Oregon. We're going to bring that smoke in. The front stalls out in the central portion of the state, so we get that cooler air for the northern half of Utah, still holding on to gusty winds and heat in the south. Here's a look at that smoke moving in for the overnight. So hazy conditions impacts are on the way. Those hazy conditions will impact visibility, and then air quality is expected to get into the moderate category and unhealthy for sensitive groups. And you can see the reason why. A little bit thicker over in the West Desert, but that will extend all the way to central Utah by 10 a.m. So the cold front cools us down and takes away the heat, but it brings in wildfire smoke from the Pacific Northwest. Last dry day there. Storm threat into Thursday starts to come back. Here's the monsoon surge. The good news, we'll see a southerly flow that will hopefully clear the smoke. Well, the bad news, we could see some storms throughout your Labor Day. High pressure slides to the east, opens the door for more moisture to move on in to the Beehive State by Thursday. That's when we're going to see the storms down south becoming more statewide Friday and lingering throughout the Labor Day weekend. So forewarning you now that if you're making your plans, you could see some stormy skies throughout the state. 80s for tomorrow, very different from the 100 today. 102 in Moab, 103 in St. George, where the heat will hold on. Watch how the temperatures, they drop. Are you ready? Washington County, 103 to the 90s to the 80s. Thunderstorms widespread Friday, becoming scattered through the weekend. Slight chance on Labor Day, but we'll be in the 80s. In St. George. Here's the Wasatch Front, 80s, 90s, and then we see those 80s turning to 70s towards Labor Day and into next week. Storm potential is going to be there, so it's an ice to the skies type of holiday weekend. Glenn, M, over to you.